Cool. Well, you know what? The message, like, I have today that I'm going to be bringing, I hope it encourages you. I hope it reminds you of who you have working on your side. And yeah, so I'm going to kick off today's message with, I don't want to say a joke, but I just want to say something that happened to me. So anyway, very quickly, it's nothing to do with the message, but very quickly, just to break the ice, 'cause I like to break the ice. I went to this night vigil. Yeah, so not the one I normally go to, Pastor Brandt's house, but I went to this different night vigil. And night vigil, I was falling asleep. As usual, like when we have our night vigil, I start falling asleep. It's really bad. And then followed by Paul, and then anyway, and Ope as well. But anyway, Bims is always the one that's awake and is alert. Everyone else is falling asleep. But anyway, so I'm at this night vigil, and it's coming to an end. And then the person leading the night vigil is like, okay, now we're gonna wash feet. And I'm thinking, wash feet? Like, I'm thinking, wash feet? I think, is this biblical and that? Like, I'm thinking, wash feet. But, it just shows my knowledge. So then he showed us the scripture now where Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. And he's like, basically, you guys wash each other's feet as well. God wash your feet. So that in the Bible. So it is biblical. I'm like, crap, I can't even say it. I'm not going to take part in this because it's not in the Bible. And then the dreaded words, the warning that my mum is always saying to me. She's always said to me from a young age. She's always like, make sure you cream your whole body because you don't know where you go. They might say you have to take off your shoes, take off your socks. Then I say, whatever place I go to that says that I'm going to walk out. Yeah. And you know what? I'll bait myself up here a bit, but I'm sure some of the guys, especially, be able to agree. If you only cream what people can see, raise your hand. Okay. All right. Here's some honesty. Yeah. So I'm like, crap. And the words are ringing. My mum's words are ringing in my mind. I'm thinking, crap, I'm going to take off my socks. I don't know what my feet are going to look like, but I know that they're not going to be creamed. Yeah. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And the place I'm at, I've never been there before. It's my first time. Someone invited me. So I'm a guest. I don't know anyone there. So I go to the toilet and I've never been in the toilet before. And I'm looking for what can I use to cream my legs? Like in this person's house. I've never been in there before. And then I'm like, crap, what can I use? And I'm like, you know what? Let me just use water. So then I get some water now. I take off my socks, take my shoes, get some water, quickly pull it on my feet. So it will moisten it. It will look cream. So now I go back into the living room, sit down. Everyone's taking off their socks and that. And then I take off mine. And it's whiter than it was before. So it didn't help anything. Let's get to the message. So, all right. So I titled this message today, Love Purposely. Love Purposely. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at love. Pastor Banks kicked it off with taking us to the book of Revelation, looking at the Church of Philadelphia, and we looked at brotherly love. Last week, Oppe brought the message, and it was on whose cup are you drinking from, where he came from a standpoint of trust. So today, I'm looking at purpose. I'm looking at love, but I'm coming from a standpoint of purpose. So I'm going to be reading. Feel free to take some notes. There's going to be some times as well, like I'm going to be like, write this down, write this point down. Please write that point down because it's something that blessed me and I hope it blesses you. So the foundation scripture for today is Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. So you can refer to this later on. So Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. And I'm going to be reading from the Message translation. All right. And it says this in the Message translation. Before I shaped you in the womb, I knew all about you. Before you saw the light of day, I had holy plans for you, a prophet to the nations. That's what I had in mind for you. All right. So everyone has a God-given purpose, something that they were put on earth to do, an assignment to be completed. I believe it's very important for a person in Christ to know their assignment. This is because your purpose, your God-given assignment can act as a compass for your life. Shaping your character, so what God wants it to be, helping you with your direction to where God wants you to go, what God wants you to do. The Bible was full of real life accounts of that support this statement. It is of no coincidence that God's calling for people in the Bible seem to mostly be centered around other people, so the well-being of other people. So if you look at someone in the Bible that had a calling from God, you will see that person had It was almost like they were given a mission, they were given an assignment, and as a result, it would benefit other people in one way or the other. Whether it was a prophet, and a prophet was sent to a nation to warn this nation, or they were going to be destroyed, or it was whoever else. Yeah. I mean, let's say a judge, let's say Samson, or another person we could look at is Gideon. Yeah, that person's calling it always seemed to be centered around another person, around someone else's well-being. Moses is an excellent example for this. But even though I'm going to be sharing my story with you some point during today's message, I want us to look at the Bible and draw some things out from what I've seen, so you have something to refer back to, something biblical. All right, so I'm going to be looking at Joseph in the Old Testament, a man of purpose. Now, there are many lessons we can learn from the life of Joseph concerning purpose, but for the sake of time, I'm going to be looking at 3. Yeah, so write this down. Number 1, your God-given purpose is always bigger than you. So that's the first one. Your God-given purpose is always bigger than you. All right, so your God-given purpose is always bigger than you. And next to that, write Genesis chapter 37, verse 9 to 11. So Genesis chapter 37, verse 9 to 11. All right, so God revealed his purpose for Joseph's life at the age of 17. He received 2 dreams from God stating his high-ranking position over his family members. We'll be looking at the second dream, yeah? So I'm going to be reading now from the New Living Translation, reading from verse 9 to 11 of Genesis chapter 37. Soon, Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. Listen, I had another dream, he said. The sun, the moon, the 11 stars bowed low before me. This time he told the dream to his father, as well as to his brothers. But his father scolded him. What kind of dream is that, he asked. Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you? But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. All right, so from this, we see God's plan for Joseph is much bigger than his current position amongst his brothers. His brothers hated him, so why would they bow before him? I believe the reason why God would give you a dream, give you a vision, an assignment, a purpose that is bigger than you, so you realize, there's no way I can achieve this in my own strength. I need to lean on God. So it's almost like if God, I won't say show of hands who knows their purpose, but if you believe that God is giving you a God-given purpose, and God is giving me this purpose, there's certain ways that you'll be able to clues to your assignment. But if it's something that you could do in your own power, I won't necessarily say that doesn't take God at all. I won't necessarily say, it's a God-given purpose, because it requires the help of God, the leading of God, the wisdom of God, the grace of God, the power of God for you to be able to accomplish that in the first place. Yeah, so I'm just going to say that. Let me go back to my notes. All right. So I believe the reason why God would give you a dream, a vision, an assignment, a purpose that is bigger than you is so that you don't trust in your own strengths to accomplish it, but you lean on the Lord for help. Recognize your need for his assistance and support. An excellent example of this is Moses. And Moses was basically called, I don't know what you can call Moses in today's society, prime minister, president, I'm not sure, governor, it'd be more than a governor, yeah? He was prime minister, yeah? So that's a lot of speaking. That's a lot of speaking. I don't know if our current prime minister writes their own speech, all their own speech, probably not, yeah, probably not. But just like, hey, what's our prime minister? David Cameron. Good. I was going to say Gordon Brown for some reason. So I was going to say Gordon Brown. It's one young person that confused me, man. I said, who's our current prime minister? They said Gordon Brown. That's what they said to me. Yeah, that's what they said to me. I said, make sure you do your homework. So so let's say, so just as David Cameron would have his team to write his speeches, Moses also had his team. Moses also had who? Moses also had Aaron to write, to help him. Anyway, let me move on. In life, sometimes our purpose may seem so unachievable that we'll never obtain it, never reach the finish line of our goal. This is where faith in God is paramount, but isn't always easy to do. All right, so the second point is this: purpose shapes character. So remember, we're looking at Joseph. We're looking at lessons on purpose we can learn from his life. The second one is purpose shapes character. So if you just write that down, and I'm going to talk a bit, and you can make some notes under that heading, that subheading. So purpose shapes character. All right, so because of time, let's fast forward to Genesis 39. Yeah, so Genesis 39. we're not gonna read it, but I'm just gonna quickly give you a quick synopsis about it and what that was about. All right, so here in this chapter, Joseph is sold by his brothers and is now a slave in the house of Potiphar, and from there a prisoner. The purpose of God over your life does not change because of the negative situations you may find yourself in. It's in times of troubles and trials that you need to hold on to your purpose. Use your purpose as a source of strength for the testing of your character. And don't stay discouraged by what you see. I mean, it's so far removed. Like, Joseph is given the dreams that he's been given, but he's been sold into slavery by his own brothers. Maybe Joseph didn't understand what the dreams meant. I mean, I've read the Bible and I read in a couple of translations, and he had a dream, or he had two dreams, and he told his family about it. He never told them, boom, this is what the dreams mean, that you're going to bow before me. He just took the dream to his brothers, and they actually interpreted the dreams for Joseph, and not actually Joseph. But now Joseph is a slave. And we know the story. You know, Potiphar had a wife, or maybe one of his wives, but Potiphar had a wife. He probably would have chosen the best woman in the whole of the land as his wife. And this wife now, she starts to move to Joseph. Do we all know the story of Joseph in the Old Testament? Just very quickly, but let me not assume. So yeah, do you know what? I was trying to picture who could have Potiphar's wife look like. So I was trying to think of maybe a cross between Beyonce and whoever else, like Jennifer Lopez. You see? Leo Long. So you see what these boys are doing? They're naming their crushes. Exactly. They're naming their crushes. They're naming it. So I'm gonna name mine. Who was mine? Oh, Keisha Cole. Yeah, she's still our crush. So let's say Keisha Cole. I changed my mind. I don't love you no more. Do you know? I just like that song. I like her rawness and her sassiness and what. Anyway, let me come back because she's married now. They broke my heart. So imagine now what this woman would have looked like, or for the ladies, imagine what, actually it doesn't work that way. Let's just stick with women. Imagine what she would have looked like. And I believe in that place, Joseph had the wisdom of God. Remember I spoke about your purpose acting as a compass, and with that comes the wisdom of God. I believe in that place, in that space, that Joseph had the wisdom of God. And the Bible would say that, God was still with him. I think it says it like 3 times. God was still with him. It says God was still with him when he was in the house of Potiphar. God was still with him when he was in a cell, when he was in a prison. So, purpose, we need to understand, and that's what's so important. With God's calling on our lives, we need to understand the will of God. It's so important to know the will of God, so you know what door to walk through. You know what direction to take. Joseph could have been like, you know what? Maybe this is God's plan. Maybe, I become Potiphar's wife's toy boy, and that's how I get into this position. That's how the promise of God is fulfilled over my life. But he recognized that. He recognized that wasn't the case. And now he's in prison. Now, if I was Joseph, I would be annoyed. I'd be really, really, really annoyed. God, what have I done? My own brother sold me into slavery. I was in the house of Potiphar. I worked hard. I became head slave, even though I was still a slave. So even the fact that Joseph was promoted in the house of Potiphar says something about his character. The Bible doesn't necessarily point out that boom, 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 but it does say that, how Joseph served. So I believe maybe Joseph served. He wasn't angry. He was, my brother sold me into slavery. I'm annoyed. I'm angry. I'm vexed. I'm thinking of ways to escape, blah, 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 and all of that. He must have, his relationship with God, what he believed, the plan he saw working, must have reflected in his character. Anyway, so the key scripture for this part is Proverbs 18 verse 16. Proverbs 18 verse 16, and it's a New King James version that I'm reading from here. So Proverbs 18 verse 16, and it says this: a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Remember, I'm talking about purpose. I'm talking about purpose, and that's something. Just put a note on that, like a star or something. Proverbs 18 verse 16. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. So even in the dump, God will cause you to be favored. God will cause you to have success. The darker it gets in your life, the brighter the light of your purpose shines. So you can write that down. The darker it gets in your life, the brighter the light of your purpose shines. Your purpose will make a way for you. Your purpose will open doors of opportunity for you. This was true in the life of Joseph. His character was based in his trust in God. Oppe, you spoke about trust last week. You can't have trust in God if you don't know God. And that was one of your points. You can't have trust. You can't know God if you don't have a relationship with God. So trusting God, knowing God, relationship with God. So that's so important. So even in this time, he has to have a relationship with God. And this was before the Ten Commandments was published. Think about it. Like, Joseph was around before the Ten Commandments was published. So how would he know that it was a great sin to sleep with Potiphar's wife? He would have had to have had a relationship with God to be able to know it was wrong. So, I mean, yeah, it shows you there. That's evidence there that you know what, in this place he had a relationship with God. All right, so God will never leave you. He will never leave you, regardless of the situation. Regardless of the situation. God never left Joseph when he was in that, citron, in that well, yeah? Waiting to be killed by his brothers, and it was Reuben like, no, let's not kill the boy, so his blood will be on our hands. Let's sell him. It's more profitable for us. Maybe he knew what he was planning in his heart to do. You know what? Revelation. Some situations you find yourself in, you have a Reuben there to help you. You have a Reuben there to help you. I've been in some situations, now looking back at my life, yeah, I had Reubens there to help me. Knowing your purpose, your assignment from God, will cause you to be vigilant, to recognize when the active hand of God is moving in your life situations. So some things are going to just work for you because you're walking in line. God's purpose. Say, hey, listen, God, you told me to do this. You chose this route for me. Therefore, I'm going to walk it. And if you find things will be falling into place for you. For example, with me concerning my job, I remember a couple of months ago, I came here and I had a prayer point. And I said, basically, my manager's been on my back. Yeah. And, speaking with Debbie, I caused it. I was basically taking the mick at work and I got found out. Yeah. And anyway, I admit that it's been recorded now, but it's not maybe my manager might hear it years from now. Anyway, yeah. And I took the mick and I got caught. So when I came here, I didn't share the whole prayer point with you. I didn't say, listen, pray God show me mercy because I flopped myself and my manager is on my back. I just said pray concerning issues with my manager. And now, going back to that scripture, and a man's gift will make room for him, bring him before great men. Now, with the same job, my last day of that job is this Thursday the 19th. And in the following week, on a Monday, I start my new position as a manager for another charity. Now, I didn't even need to fill out an application form. They sought me, and they done that for me. So I thank God for that, because I remember when I was looking for work as a youth worker, I was getting turned down, and now people are coming to me, offering me manager jobs, and I'm grateful to God for that. But when that came now, and I give God the glory, I wasn't surprised. It wasn't necessarily based on how much I knew or whatever, because I know at least my purpose is plain to me to see that, it's to work with young people. So things are falling in line. But let me move on. So, and this is so beautiful. If you look at the story of Joseph as well, you'll see that, and I'm going to speed up now real quick. If you look at the story of Joseph, you will see that it also talks about forgiveness as well. And this can be found in Genesis chapter 45, verse 7. So I'm just going to have to read the verse for you. You're going to have to read the chapters yourself and fill in all the blanks. But I'm just going to read it for you. So Genesis chapter 45, verse 7. I'm reading from the New Living Translation, and it says this. So Genesis chapter 45, verse 7, New Living Translation. So this is Joseph speaking to his brothers, yeah? His brothers that sold him into slavery. So by this time now, his brothers have come to him. Joseph is basically prime minister of Egypt. And his brothers have now come to him because they want to barter. They need grain. There's famine in the land. And they need grain. There's famine in the land and they need grain. So they've come to Joseph. And based on Joseph and the dreams Joseph had and the position that he ranked to, he is now prime minister. So his brothers have actually come to deal with him. And Joseph, he recognizes his brothers straight away. His brothers don't recognize him, yeah, but he recognizes them. And this is what he says, yeah. So when he finally reveals who he is to his brothers are crying. He's crying as well. He says this to them. So this is Joseph, Genesis chapter 45, verse 7. God has sent me here ahead of you to keep you and your families alive and to preserve many survivors. So it was God who sent me here and not you. And he is the one who made me an advisor to Pharaoh, the manager of his entire palace and a governor of all Egypt. So he recognized the plan of God. He recognized God moving in that situation. He recognized the plan of God moving in that situation. That's amazing. And that's evident by the statement there. That's evident. His purpose, his calling. He recognized that. And that's important. And that's the thing. And it's a message here. You can write this down. God is always in control, working behind the scenes. God is always in control, working behind the scenes. Yeah. So it's a message to you. It's a point to you. God is always in control, working behind the scenes. All right. Now I'm rounding up. So clues to God's assignment for your life. Yeah. So this is the next part. You can write this down. Clues to God's assignment for your life. So number one, what do you love? So let's say, I'm not going to say how many of you here know what you've been called to do and whatnot, but it's just a question for you to answer in your head, yeah, or on paper. All right, number one, what do you love? So let's say, imagine now everyone here, regardless of whatever job, regardless of whatever profession you had, we all earn £10 each. School teacher to a janitor to I don't know, a lawyer to one of them, you know, them city people in Canary Wharf, whatever it was, yeah, you earn £10 each. What at £10 an hour? What would you choose to do? What would you love to do? That's the question for you. What would you love to do? What would you love to do? Because the thing is, we get into a position where in life we're just chasing money. Oh, you know what? We have all the money we want, we'll still be miserable. Or when we don't have the money, we're miserable. So there has to be a higher reward than money. Yes, it's good to make money. Yes, I need money. I want to do things. But if whatever job I chose to do, £10 an hour, that was it. As long as I wasn't living on the street, my bills were paid and everything, I would do exactly what I'm doing now. And that's working with young people. So what would you do? What do you love? Number two. So this, remember, we're looking at clues to God's assignment for your life. Number two, what do you hate? So what do you hate? What angers you? What ticks you off? You know, Pastor Jensen Franklin said this, yeah? He once said this: you can't correct what you're unwilling to confront. Anything you permit will increase. Whatever you tolerate, you cannot change. Yeah. So that's a quote by Pastor Jensen Franklin. You can't correct what you're unwilling to confront. Anything permitted will increase. Whatever you tolerate, you cannot change. Yeah. Question: what gets you passionate? What gets you passionate? What gets you rallied up? What gets you angry? What gets you angry? Whatever it is normally another clue, or could be a clue to God's assignment for your life. So we've looked at what do you love. Now, what do you hate? The third one is this, yeah, and it's the last one. What grieves you? So what makes you cry? So what grieves you? What makes you cry? So you can write down, what grieves me? What makes me cry? What touches your heart? What makes you emotional? What can move you? You know, this is normally a massive clue to God's assignment for your life. A person in the Bible that was moved is Nehemiah. You know, in Bible study for the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at the book of Nehemiah. And I have a verse in there, or two verses in there, that I want to bring out. You can write this down here. So it's Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 3 to 4. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 3 to 4. And I'm reading from the New Living Translation. So Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 3 to 4. And it says this. They said to me, so basically these are people coming back. I think one of them is a relative, a brother or something like that, and there's some other relatives. And basically they've come to Nehemiah to give him a report of how things are happening back home, their promised lands, the city in ruins and whatnot. And I believe Nehemiah, his position, he was working for serving, is it Nebuchadnezzar? And he was a cupbearer for Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. So you can say he's kind of living good, cupbearer, How hard is that? I don't know how hard it is. As much as Nebuchadnezzar is drinking, as much as he's serving, I don't know. Yeah. But you could say he was in a good position, Wasn't living on the street, he was in the palace. All right, so verse 3, yeah. They said to me, things are not going well for those who return to the province of Judah. They are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem has been torn down and the gates have been destroyed by fire. Now this is Nehemiah's response to that, yeah, verse 4. When I heard this, I sat down and wept. In fact, for days I mourned, I fasted, and I prayed to God. I prayed to the God of heaven. So when he heard this report, that was his reaction. That was his response to that. So it grieved him. It made him cry. And that's so amazing. And the thing about Nehemiah wasn't a professional wall builder. He had never built a wall before. Nehemiah found and this is important, Nehemiah found his assignment through his emotions. And I remember that's something that we touched on in the Bible study. What came first, the call of God or Nehemiah's emotions? And we actually discovered, it was Nehemiah that was moved to do something about it, which led to his assignment. Yeah. So his emotions led to his assignment. All right. Walking in your purpose, your assignment, motivated by love and a desire to help, can cause others to do the same. So walking in your assignment, in your purpose, motivated by love, can cause others to do the same. All right, what am I talking about? Let me use an analogy. Debbie, you remember this. So who here farts? Who here farts? Let's be honest, man. Some people are looking, what is he saying? All right, yeah, who farts? Is it easier to hold in a fart or let it rip? Let it rip. I'm going somewhere with this, don't worry. Now let's say, have you ever been in a situation, close quarters, where someone lets off a fart? Yeah, I have. Let's imagine now you're in a lift, yeah? You're in a lift. It's packed, it's a hot day, it's a slow lift, there's many floors and you're at the top floor. Someone lets off a fart, and I'm speeding up. Someone lets off a fart, and no one's saying it, someone just farts, silent. You didn't hear nothing, just silent. For you might have tasted it before you smelt it, yeah. For someone else, it's making them feel lightheaded, Another person sees this opportunity. Yes, I've been holding in this fart since. Let me let it rip as well. So another person farts, and one way when you come out of that lift, maybe you have that fart in your clothes, the smell of it in your clothes. Maybe it's in your hair, yeah. Maybe it's in your mouth. You remember that taste? You need mint. But the thing is, in that lift, yeah, you were basically farted on. There was no way you weren't affected in one way or the other. And imagine now we were to walk in our purpose, we were intentional about walking in our purpose. Then whoever we came into contact with, they would be affected in one way or the other. Yeah. So, I tell you from today, from here, you have permission to fart. Yeah. So turn to your neighbor and fart in their ear. God, make that noise then. You know that noise. Yeah, you have permission to fart. Yeah? But longer, you're farting. Could encourage Faith or Esther to do the same. You walking in your purpose and someone seeing that can encourage someone else to do the same. There's this quote that I like from Coach Carter. Who has seen Coach Carter? Yeah. When it talks about, and I don't know offhead, I didn't plan this bit, where it talks about our deepest fear is not that we are, no, is it our greatest fear? Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, but we are powerful beyond measure. It's not our light, but our darkness that most frightens us. Yeah. Then it talks about we were all created to shine as children do. And then it talks about, and I'm paraphrasing here, it says that when we shine, when we do that, we unconsciously give others the permission to do the same also. So basically, when I'm walking in my purpose, I'm affecting those around me. People see me think, you know what, Fola was able to do it. Maybe I'm able to do it, what I want to do and whatnot. And you're cause and effect, you're having change. I'm finishing now, and I'm going to talk about I'm going to share to you my own story. If I can have a bit more time just to talk to you about myself and that. For those of you that don't know, I'm an ex-gang member. I used to be involved in gangs. Yeah, used to be involved in gangs. I love fighting. Who didn't know that before? You didn't know that before? Yeah, I love fighting, man. I love fighting. But the thing is, I grew up, don't be scared. Don't be scared. I grew up in an abusive home. I saw some things you weren't, no child to see. I saw my dad beat up my mom, my dad was very abusive towards me as well. I would say from as young as 11 years old, because that's as young as I can remember. Punching me to the face, stamping on my back, kicking me in the stomach. I remember one time I was 15, 16. My dad beat me up with crutches until it was bent. And this is after he stamped on my head. I remember coming through the door, arguing about something, punched me. I fell back onto the step and he stamped on my head. My head bounced off the step. I ran upstairs, collapsed on the floor, and he beat me with crutches. And he beat me with crutches. And I was thinking back, wow. So in order for him to have stamped on my head, he had to walk up a couple of steps for him to do that. So anyway, that's the home I grew up in. So I grew up very angry. A lot of anger. In school, I messed about in school a lot. Used to get suspended all the time, excluded all the time. Left school with no GCSEs. Went to college to redo my GCSEs. Spent that time chasing girls and fighting. Down the line, I got involved in gangs as well, and I loved it. I loved it so much, man. I love fighting. Also in secondary school, and primary school, I was a kid that was bullied as well. Yeah, anyone here ever been bullied before? I've been bullied. Yeah. So imagine being bullied in school badly, and then there's no refuge, safety at home as well. And that was my life. Got involved in gangs. Been in a couple of situations where I could have been killed. I'm gonna share one of them with you now. So I remember when we were two of my guys, and we come across one boy from another area, and we beat this boy up, and then we're chasing him, and he gets away. Now later on that same day, so this happened in the afternoon, the evening now of that day, I'm out and about. I went to one fun fair, and I'm walking out to the bus stop. So I'm like 18, 19 these times. Walking to the bus stop, there's traffic everywhere. I'm on one side of the road. I noticed a boy wearing a jacket, a multicolored jacket, and it reminded me of the boy that I beat up in the afternoon. So he's wearing this jacket. He's wearing this jacket, and I realized that it's the boy. That's walking towards me, and I'm like, crap, this is the boy. So I'm there now, I'm ready to fight. And back then, I used to carry this umbrella. The short umbrella you could flick out. I used to flick it down as a kosh. I use that, on people. So I'm there now, I'm ready to fight. And then to my left-hand side, someone comes and they punch me right in the ear like that. And it hurts so badly. I'll tell you why, I'll explain why. Everyone poke behind your ears like that. Poke behind your ears. Yeah. Now imagine you're wearing an earring and the bar of that stud goes into the area. Punches me there, I fall down like that, another guy punches me and I'm straight. Now the guy that so the boy I beat up, he's gone to get his boys, but he's gone to get this one guy, his cousin. His cousin is crazy. We say all these crazy stories about him in his 30s, been in prison most of his life, just some crazy stories. And it's like, look, it's you, look what he did to my cousin, I'm terrified of seeing this guy. I'm like, crap. They're like, come with us now. If you run, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. And the person that they've gone to go bring, I'm so scared because of this person they've gone to go bring. So they're walking me just around a corner, and police drive past, and police, they're not on call. So no sirens flashing. They're not rushing to an emergency. They're just driving normally. Yeah. I'm so scared. I don't even reach out to stop them. Like, hey, these boys are going to kill me. That's how scared I am. So now I'm in this living room. The front door is over there. The boy that beat up his cousin is here. They give the phone to me and they're like, listen, we want £400 to let you go. I'm like, £400? I'm thinking, is this a movie? Like, ransom? Like, no one's going to give you £400 for me, let alone £5. So I'm on the phone to my boy. I'm like, listen, they got me. They want money to let me go. And he's like, okay, cool. This boy that I'm on the phone to now, this is my close boy, like age 18. We're sleeping in the same bed, using the same duvet, sharing the same duvet, sharing the same pillow. Like, we're close. When I'm hungry, when I'm broke, I will go to his house and he'll cook me a pot of plain rice and he'll give it to me to eat. Yeah, that's how close we are. So he's repeating word for word what I'm saying. The rest of my boys are in the background and they're laughing. I've just been kidnapped. But hey, there's no loyalty amongst criminals, yeah? Write that down as well. So if you're a criminal yourself or you have friends that are criminals, don't expect them to have your back, in times of trouble. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm on my way. But it doesn't stop there. Let me take a pen. It doesn't stop there. The guy comes back. So the guy, at that moment, he punches me to the face. I stagger back and he punches me again and I fall down to the floor and I'm clutching up and the guy is just punching me. He's trying to pull down my trousers as well. I'm holding it in one hand like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop. And he's punching me to the face. He punches me to the mouth and he cuts his knuckle on my tooth and he's like, it stops. And he's like, I'm bleeding. You're not bleeding. I'm going to make sure you bleed. He goes out of the room. He comes back in with a knife and he jumps on top of me. And I'm just going to use an example. He jumps on top of me and he's going like that for my stomach. So try and stop me. So he's going like that for my stomach, yeah? And it gets so bad. I'm there struggling with the guy, trying to stop the guy, trying to stop it from the knife from going in. Things get so bad that the person that I beat up and the other people in the house have to jump on this guy to restrain this guy. Because this guy is going to kill me. Even though the money is on its way. This is how crazy and unbalanced this guy is, yeah? That the guy, he wants to kill me in that position. Anyway, I get out of that situation. I remember my boy saying to me, he said to me, listen, you have two options. It's either you leave this life or you just get worse and you get everyone before they get you. Now I'm going to fast forward. So I chose the second part and I loved it. I became cold-hearted. Bearing in mind, I gave my life to Christ when I was 16. It's like everything went downhill from there, yeah? But I gave my life to Christ when I was 16. I guess Satan didn't want to let me go, yeah? But God still had his hand upon me, So things get bad now. And I've just gotten worse, being arrested a couple of times and whatnot. But the night that changed it was when I was in a car with three other guys in this car. In this car, we had samurai swords, baseball bats, knives, body armor, and we was on our way to this party to go and fight. Parked up, pulled up, try to walk to the party to see what's popping, see what's happening. The police was everywhere, turned us back and said, listen, there's been fights in the area, you guys have to go home. We jump in the car, less than, am I boring you guys? You guys are cool, you still with me? Okay, good, I'm looking at the time and it's just moving quick. I wish it would move like this at work. But anyway, less than 2 minutes on the way back, police pull us over. Blue lights flashing, police pull us over and they arrest us with all the stuff in the car. Now the thing is, I found out later in court that someone had, one of the neighbors had reported to police that she had seen a male take a large knife from his trousers and put in the back of his car. So basically, police are watching the car, waiting for the occupants to come back to the car so they can arrest all of them. So now I'm at Lewisham Police Station and I'm in that cell. And it's funny, it's so funny because Lewisham Police Station, I'm going to come back to why Lewisham Police Station is important. And I just thought about it now. So I'm in that cell and I'm in that cell by myself. Who has ever been to a police cell before, been arrested? All right, cool. Thank you. All right.
No, I put them in it.
You put them in it, yeah? All right. So in that cell is not a nice place, man. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? All that gang stuff, all that name, I was, because basically like I said, I was bullied in school, right? So I used to have this name. Rianne knows. Rianne's my friend from, anyway. So I used to have this name. Remember the name? What was the name? All right, she doesn't want to say it, but I'll say it anyway. So the name was 50, yeah? 50, but I'm going to come back to why it was 50, yeah? So you remember. So I went to a sixth form. Sixth form was mixed, but the secondary school was all girls. And this is when 50 Cent first came up with a song in the club. So all the girls in year 11 being gassed and whatnot. So that's a little bit like 50 Cent. So my street name was actually 50 Cent at one point. Then being British, we changed the pence, changed it to pence. So 50 pence. And then we got rid of the pence and it was just 50. Yeah, and I loved it. So I loved it. Everywhere you go in your area, like local champion, like village champion. Like everywhere you go in your area, everyone knew you, every party and whatnot. So I'm in that cell and I'm thinking, all that name I was chasing, all them girls I was chasing don't mean nothing. I'm in this cell by myself. Every time they want to give you food, they're giving it to you through some flap, they're checking on you as well through some hole. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I can't do 23 hours of the day of this. I slept like 4 times in that place. I've woke up 4 times in that place, yeah? I was like, you know what, let me just sleep it out, or let me do some press-ups, keep myself busy, but it don't mean nothing. You're in that cell. And I started thinking about my life, thinking I don't want to do this no more. But I didn't know what else to do because my mind, in a sense, had been conditioned. And it's so important, the condition of our minds. I allowed what I saw around me to condition my mind. So I put limits on myself based on what I saw, yeah? And I'm in this cell and I start singing. But I don't start praising God in a cell like I was saying praise and worship. I didn't know nothing about that. I was singing a song I liked. So you know this Michael Bublé song, Another Summer Day, it's come and gone away, Paris and Rome, let me go home. So I'm singing this in the song, man, let me go home, you know. Anyway, I'm in that cell. A lot happens. I have a court case. Court case lasts 1 year. During this time, I'm suicidal as well. During this time, I decided to leave my gang. I moved back to Hackney because people want to kill me. Every time I'm running for my life, people want to kill me. Court case comes to the end after 1 year, and I see the hand of God move. That's a whole nother testimony in itself, man. When you go to court and you have a trial and whatnot, you need character references. I got a character reference from a police officer. On top of that, the police officer came in to the court to speak on my behalf to the judge and to the jury. But that's a whole nother story, a whole nother time. I can't share it now. Yeah, and even how that moved about, because the guy was actually a manager at where I used to work. And then one day he was like, you know what, I want to become a police officer. He went away, didn't see him for a couple of months. And then during my court case, he came back to where I worked. And I told him what had happened. He said, you want me to write character reference for you? I was like, yeah. He got one to me the next week, yeah, and I was like, you know what, I'll come into court as well and speak on your behalf. So see how God moves things around, man. See how God, the hand of God. Remember what I said, the hand of God is always moving, even when we can't see it. Anyway, court case comes to an end. I get found not guilty. How many GCSEs did I say I have? Okay. I'll tell you what, I lied there. God forgive me, yeah. But it was not much of a GCSE to mention. But I got one GCSE in English, but it was for speaking in class. It wasn't even for writing no paper. It was for speaking in class. So anyway, court case came to an end. I went to uni. I did 2 degrees. I came out of uni. I realized that, you know what, I realized I wanted to work with young people. I wanted to spare young people, other young people, what I had just been through myself. And that's how I found my calling. I found my purpose. Yeah. Now hear this, yeah, because it's not finished. I'm encouraging you as well as I'm encouraging myself. I left uni, second degree. I'm 25, left uni. Obviously, it took me longer because I wasn't serious, and I became serious. Now I want to be a youth worker. I go to the job center to sign on, and they're looking at me like I'm a waste man. Like I'm in there, and they're looking at me like I'm a waste man, talking to me like I'm a waste man, like I want to be there. Yeah, I sign on. The lady's like, the advisor's like, what do you want to do? So I want to be a youth worker. What qualifications do you have? Relevant qualifications? So I don't have any. What experience? I don't have much. Oh, she's like, okay, cool. Look for some jobs. Let me know how it goes. 6 months down the line, what do you want to do? I want to be a youth worker. She's like, I figure you have to start, think about other options. I'm applying for jobs. I'm not getting these jobs and whatnot. Apply for my local Tesco's. They don't give it to me. Yeah. In my house as well, my mum was like, you know what, Fola, all this youth work thing you want to do, forget about it. Yeah. Go and find a job that will bring money into the house, because I wanted to do this youth work thing and I didn't get far with it. So forget about it. Yeah. Imagine I would have listened to my mum. Anyway, and I don't blame my mum for that. But imagine I would have listened to my mum. Started off my own business, started getting work with young people. So I worked with young people in care. I work in a youth club at the moment. I'm still there, been there almost 4 years on a rough estate as well. I worked on a pupil referral unit. I've done loads and loads of youth worker roles. And I put my trust in God. I said, God, you know what? I was crying. I said, God, you brought me, you the one that told me about this. And like, make a way. You chose it for me, and I decided to walk this path with you. Make a way, make a way, make a way. And he did. He was working. And that's the thing. And that's where we get it wrong as Christians. When we're all up in ourselves, we think, you know what, I need to be perfect before God can use me. Give me one person, well, maybe not, because he might prove me right. Give me a couple of people in the Bible then, yeah, that were perfect before God used them, that were made up. Gideon had issues, man. Gideon had issues with how he saw himself, low self-esteem. Moses was a stammerer. Even though he was, at one point, he was Prince of Egypt, he still had issues within himself. And that's the thing. This night box. So this night box, there's no trainers in here. No one's been blessed, today, Just letting you know, this night box, This night box could represent us, on the outside, we look polished. Oh, it's Nike, look at it. There must be some really, really cool trainers in there, When really, on the inside, we look a mess. So, sorry, my back's turned to you. So we're ripped. We're not perfect. We have addictions. We struggle with addictions. Let me put some holes in this. We struggle with addictions. We have low self-esteem. We're broken. We've allowed our past to play a part in our present for too long, and we're messed up. So then when we come before God now, we're like, you know what can I do? This is how I look. When really, this is all God needs. God needs the vessel.
That's right.
God needs the vessel, because it's out of the vessel and you committing yourself to him, no, submitting yourself to him. You know, God, your will and not my will, regardless of my mess. Because you know what, I tell you what, God loves you so much. He loves you so much. He loves you as you are. But he loves you so much that he won't leave you the same. He will change you into the image of his son, Jesus. Yeah? So this is us. We're messed up. And we say, you know what, God, I want to be used by you. Use me. I'm not perfect. I have addictions. I have anger issues. I'm broken. All the past pain, past hurt, it's played a part in my life for too long. I have low self-esteem. But God, I still want you to use me. And taking this night box, God will use us. Yeah? And when he uses us, he allows us to be a blessing. We be a blessing to people as we're used. So here you go. You can have a sweet. Just take one. So as we allow God to use us, he uses us. And he causes us to be a blessing to others. You can pass that along. I don't think it's going to, you know. I don't think it's going to. So God will use you as you are. God will use you as you are, but you need to be willing. And then just like them sweets that are being shared and people are going to eat it now, it's going to freshen some people's breath, it's going to feed some people, whatever it's going to do, because you allowed yourself to be used by God, you're able to have an effect on others. People are now enjoying, people are now woken up, people are woken up, people are smiling, people are being used. And that's all God requires. He requires that beaten up night box turn into something great. And that's what God did in my life. Amen. So that brings me to the end of my message. Actually, no, not yet. I'm going to play you a video now. So talking about purpose. Remember I said to you, thank you. Remember I said what moves you, what grieves you, what makes you cry. Where's the light? This is the light. Now pause it, please. Thank you. Now, do you remember earlier this year? Let's pause it, please. You just bring it back. Remember earlier this year, I was like, I watched a boy die. You know what? Did we open up that other page? The murder map. Remember the murder map? Yeah, that's it. So, no, not yet. Thank you. So earlier this year, yeah, I watched a boy die. Yeah, I think it was in January. Do you remember January? I said I watched the boy die and the prayer point and whatnot. So this is the boy that died. Yeah, Jermaine. Now we can read the story, but this thing is murder map. Yeah, and basically, he was out with some boys. He's out with these boys. They get set up. They're being chased by a group of boys. The boys that are chasing them really want one person in particular. Yeah. He's with two other boys. Two of them gets away. For whatever reason, he stops and he ends up being killed. Yeah. So police put together a CCTV footage of the murder. Yeah. So I'm going to show you something now. It is distressing. I'm going to hit the lights as well. It's not that clear. So, and it's a short video as well. But if you just watch it. So there's no sound as well. And then what we do, if you go to the home page after. On the page, if you scroll up, there'll be an option for home. So these are the boys running away. It's being chased. By another boy, and at any moment you will see the knife. You see the knife? The knife is faint. See the knife? It's not clear, but pay attention. So it's in the corner of the screen to the right. You see the knife's glittering in the light. And that's the boy. No, she went to help. People run to help. And then by that point, so I got there after, and when the paramedics were actually working on the boy. So I'm going to show you something real quick now. So yeah, go to home. No, go to murder map, please. Sorry. Go to murder map. Yeah, so if it's next to home. Cool. So look all that. That's all them M's, different color M's represent murders in and around London. If you click off, uncheck everything, but leave the gun and the knife on, please. Let's give BIMS a round of applause as well. You know, so unclick. No, go back to that same thing. But just unclick. Yeah, yeah, and all of them except the gun and the knife one. So yeah, that one. Yeah, and that one as well. That literature one. Yeah, there you go. So that's gun and knife, and I take off the knife. I'm gonna take off the gun, the red one. And this thing is updated on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, if a young person is killed, if a young person was killed yesterday, they'll probably be on this thing by Monday. Yeah, and the cases are there and everything. And that's what grieves me. That's what angers me. That's what moves me emotionally. That's what makes me cry. So just like Nehemiah, I discovered my purpose, my assignment through my emotions. And with God's leading and God's direction and His grace, and He's working on me like that Nike box. I'm grateful to God that I'm able to have an impact, in a young person's life. I work with young people. I work at least each month, at least 200 young people I would have come into contact with in one way or the other, meeting them and having an opportunity to just speak life. And that brings me to the end of end of my message. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Okay. I don't think we have time for a question.